But the thing is here, you mentioned that the person who was earmarked to become Prime Minister, to become Mahathir's successor, was Azmin Ali. When I think in the news it was mentioned it was Shafi Abdal maybe, then, later on that it became Tan Sri Muhyiddin. Now, why do you think Mahathir singled Azmin Ali out to be his successor at the early part?
Well, I think, a lot of people, and you see, this is the thing, you have to understand Malaysian political history. And a lot of people maybe are born after events that happened in the 80s and in the 90s and so are unaware. And many of us, as Mahathir said, Melayu mudah lupa. So, we forget things. But I need to remind people that actually Mahathir had a relationship in terms of, what I mean by relationship was he knew Azmin Ali even before Anwar knew Azmin Ali. And in fact, it was Mahathir that recommended Azmin to Anwar, to work with Anwar. So as a result, there was already a pre-existing relationship between Azmin and Mahathir. Mahathir knew Azmin Ali, as a person, his character, what he was capable of. So that relationship existed back in the 1980s, 1990s. So speed up to 2018. The reality of the situation, or 2016 actually, when Mahathir realized that, look, I need to get hold of the opposition. I need their support. And of course, he had demonized Anwar. He privately told many individuals that he still believed Anwar was guilty of the first round of sodomy accusations, the second round as well, that Anwar, had to pay for his crimes. That was his belief. And he still believed at that point that Anwar should not be Prime Minister of the country. But he had to agree, right? Political expediency in terms of getting the support of PH meant that he had to agree to having Anwar as Prime Minister. But his choice was, at that point, Azmin Ali. Why? Because he saw Azmin, after Azmin became Selangor Menteri Besar and had performed very strongly as an opposition leader, that he had what it took to lead PKR. And he could be someone that could be trusted because he wasn't involved in all these scandals. He was involved in reformasi and all of these activities. So he thought, yeah, great. What I need to do is I need to groom Azmin. And of course, in the process, split PKR, right? Split PKR, groom Azmin, hopefully then get him and his faction to defect to my side, to Bersatu, and then I can actually appoint him, once we are secure, as the next Prime Minister. He can take over. He would be an acceptable face of the next Malaysian Prime Minister.
But you see, so that's interesting that you say that, because although that plan sounds perfect, but it lacks the reason. It lacks an excuse. So that's where the sex tape comes in. Now, this sex tape, of course, I want to highlight. You've also mentioned this book that the police chief at that time confirmed that it wasn't Azmin in the video, right? But although that, he confirmed that the video is authentic and they cannot identify the identities of these two individuals. Now, as you rightly mentioned, and you mentioned this book, Tun Mahathir's plan was to bring in Azmin Ali into Bersatu. As you controversially have said recently, that Bersatu at that time was a gang of mat rempets that FMT have picked up. And at this point, but the problem is, as I said, Tun Mahathir did not have an excuse. Now, of course, the initial blame for the sex tape went to Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, who you write in this book, in a conversation with Tun Mahathir, vehemently denies it.
Yep.
And I believe him. Could this be that the video had come from Tun Mahathir's camp? Because the video proved to be the last piece of the puzzle he had. Because after this video came out, then Azmin Ali publicly showed his allegiance to Mahathir. This was the reason he needed to bring Azmin into Bersatu.
Look, to be very, very honest with you and very frank, that could be possible. Because he is a man who has numerous machinations and numerous plans all going on at the same time.
Yeah.
All going on at the same time. But if it were individuals, who were within Datuk Sri Anwar's camp, and if they had planned this, clearly it was without his knowledge. And this happens so often in all political parties. I mean, where the leaders are unaware of what their own people are doing. They believe that they are helping their leaders when actually they end up, messing up the situation. these guys in Anwar's camp clearly miscalculated because it backfired in such a massive way. Because as you know, in Malaysia, when you want to bring somebody down, the fastest way to do it is through a sex scandal.
Yes, definitely.
That's what you do.
Captures our imagination.
Exactly. You just all
Sex
into
is the way to go.
That's it. You use sex. So in this instance, the removal of Azmin was actually and I find it hard actually that Mahathir would do it. Why? Because Mahathir wanted somebody who was clean in that sense, who didn't have the sex element involved. And I think that, along with Dato' Sri Azmin's inability to deliver on the economy, inability to actually help, or rather, opening his mouth when he shouldn't have on the ECRL issues, all of these things, at that point then made Mahathir lose confidence.
Yes. You talk about that in the book as well.
Yeah. And I think the sex tape was the final nail in the coffin, because Mahathir would not be able to accept anyone who would even been impugned by something like the whole sex tape issue. So in his mind, Azmin was then at that point a write-off.
Write-off, yeah, exactly.